Hello fellow audio nerds, I'm Steph and this is Major Hi-Fi. This week I got a chance to spend some quality time with the most affordable true wireless earphones from JBL, the Tune 120 TWS. Now, I was super impressed by these, but for 99 bucks, what can you expect for them? Let's go back in time, I'll share with you my first impressions, and then I'll meet you right back here for my overall thoughts. Alright, here we go. Hey everybody, welcome to my place. So today I have with me the JBL Tune 120 TWS. So yeah, let's see what's inside the box here. Alright, so as you'll see here, it's a pretty simple package. First things first, we've got some documentation and warranty stuff. We've got some ear tips, small, medium, large, just regular silicone tips. A charging cable, this is micro USB. The charging case, of course, where, you know, the earphones can sit in here and charge and all of that good stuff. And then finally, of course, the earphones themselves. Alright, so just taking a look at these earphones, you'll notice they kind of have this really kind of sleek, simple kind of look to them. It's got this, it's made of plastic, and the outside of it's kind of this glossy black finish with like then the matte black finish with the JBL logo in the middle. A little LED light there to tell you what's going on with them. The back side is kind of this grayish color. Still made of plastic, and it's got kind of an interesting shape. It's like this teardrop kind of shape with then like a short nozzle at the end. And despite the fact that it's made of plastic, it feels very well made. Feels durable in my hands, strong. There don't seem to really be any kind of weak points or anything. Yeah, it just kind of feels like a sturdy little earphone. Now you'll notice these don't use the kind of the ear hook design that some other kind of IEMs take, so I'm curious to see how these will fit. Let's see. These seem to fit decently. I'm noticing that, you know, because there's not really much going on in terms of like how these are going to stay in your ears, right? It's really determined, like it really relies on the fit of these ear tips in the ear canal. Now the good thing is that these driver housings are really lightweight, so I didn't really feel at all like they wanted to, like gravity wanted to pull them out of my ears. Just rather, you know, it's like you just want them to have a good seal in the ear. And when I do have a good seal, they're pretty sound isolating. It just doesn't feel like 100% secure in my ears, and I bet it's gonna work a lot better, especially for people that have more like normal size ears. I have like relatively smallish ears. But yeah, I mean, I think if you have a easy time with most earbuds, and these are going to work for you. And in reality, I mean, they are in the ears, they do stay. I do have a seal. One thing I will say, like, I would be super curious to try these with foam tips to see if they stay a little bit better, or just like easier, because then it can really conform to like the inside of the ear, and it might even make them even more sound isolating than they already are. So that's totally a thought or something you could try if you are interested in these. In terms of the tech, you're going to get 16 hours of battery life in total, 4 hours per individual charge on these, and then you get an additional 12 hours with the charging case here. And one kind of cool thing about the charging case, let's see, plop these in here, and you'll notice that there's kind of these LEDs that light up and kind of tell you how much charge is in the case, so that's kind of nice. It connects via Bluetooth 4.2. Kind of surprised that it doesn't connect via Bluetooth 5, but whatever. But yeah, I do want to see how this connects to my phone, so I'm just gonna take this. Hello. Say hi to Bobo. He's sleeping. Okay. And I'm just going to try and pair these to my phone. So I'm going to my Bluetooth settings, and already they've popped up in the Bluetooth settings on my phone. It kind of like automatically does it when you take them out of the case. So let's see. It says it's connected. Let's see. Are they both giving me sound? That's the real test. Yep, both have sound. So that's really great, actually. It was really easy to connect to my phone. So that's good. I do want to like take a closer look and listen a little closer. So let's get into the sound part. Wow, I'm really impressed with these so far. A lot of clarity, and when I was listening to the low frequencies, I was just listening to the song Los Ageless by St. Vincent. And yeah, the kick drum and the 808 definitely have a really nice sense of punchiness. They don't really cloud up the low mids at all. Like, they have a lot of clarity. And then the sort of heavier sounding bass synth thing, really just has a good feeling of weight, and it really just kind of feels like there's a sturdiness in the low end. It doesn't feel like super overly hyped, but there is just that extra sense of like a little bit of emphasis and a little bit of punchiness to it. All right, yeah, I was just listening to the song No Dad by Taylor Hollingsworth, and in this song, Taylor's vocal really sat super presently in the mix, louder in the mix than usual. And then that crunchy electric guitar, the actual like crunchiness of it really sat presently in the mix as well. So kind of came forward a little bit and just sounded a little bit less full than usual. But that said, like the drums and the bass guitar, there was still like kind of a fullness to it, but it was just a little bit quieter in the mix. All right, I was just listening to the song Cleva by Erykah Badu, and the vocals, the vibraphone, the piano all kind of have this like added sense of presence and articulation to them. The attacks of the drums and the attacks of those instruments in particular definitely sound a bit like louder in the mix than usual as well. And then additionally, the hi-hats kind of sound a little bit less chunky than usual. They're a little bit thinner, but they're still really kind of like bright. So it's kind of an interesting response here, just like less of a high frequency response fullness and more of like it's emphasized a bit to be kind of more like crispy as opposed to like chunky. Wow. Yeah, actually, I'm really impressed with the soundstage of these and kind of what they're able to do. I was just listening to the song Mercy Now by Mary, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, Gauthier, maybe? But so in this song, like her voice sounds very, very intimate, more intimate than usual, sits really forward in the mix. But that contrasts extremely well with the snare drum, which when it comes in, it has like a lot of room energy. So it definitely like sits further back in space, and those two things feel really, really have really high contrast. And then kind of the acoustic guitar, the strings and stuff are kind of sitting in between those two extremes. And in terms of the sense of width, it was sort of interesting because what I was finding is that like the earphones kind of like slip out of my ear canals a little bit. Definitely want to try them with the foam tips to see if that is reduced a bit, but because they like are falling out a little bit, sometimes that phantom center and then the width gets a little wobbly. But that said, when I did have a good seal, I thought the width sounded really good. The acoustic guitars kind of panned out, sounded nice and wide. But because the low mids, like the bass guitar in the song was a little bit quieter than usual, it wasn't as like anchored down there. It was more anchored from the vocal, and so those wide guitars sounded a little bit wider actually than they otherwise might. Anyway, very interested to keep listening to these and kind of analyze it a little bit more. And yeah, I'll meet you back at the Major Hi-Fi office with my overall thoughts. All right, here we go. Overall, the low frequencies of the Tune 120 TWS really have a nice sense of punch to them. They have a little bit of emphasis in two areas, one around 60 hertz to my ear, and then another around 100 hertz. So there's really this sense of like punchiness and solidity to them. But that said, they still had a great sense of separation from the low mids, and so there's kind of this clarity from the lows with these that I really wasn't expecting, to be honest. So I think that they're gonna work well for kind of a wide variety of genres, relatively speaking. That said, I really enjoyed them for pop, hip-hop, rock, and indie music because you can still get a lot of the clarity out of a kick drum without messing with the bass guitar too much. As for the mid-range of the 120 TWS, the low mids sounded nice and even. The middle part of the mid-range, for the most part, sounded nice and even. And as a result, actually compared to sort of the rest of the mid-range and then the low frequencies, the bass guitar, kind of the low-mid area, sounded a little bit quieter than I was actually expecting. It still felt nice and full, but it was just a little bit quieter. But all of that said, there was a little bit of a dip right at the top of the middle part of the mid-range, and what this did is sometimes mid-range instruments sounded a little bit smaller than usual, but they also had great separation from then the high mids. Now the high mids had a big old boost, so vocals sit nice and forward in the mix, very intimate in the mix, and actually it sort of made these IEMs not only very good for music, and especially vocal music, like you might want for something like hip-hop, where it's very articulated so you can hear all the words that are being said, but I thought it was actually also really great for podcasts and audiobooks and that kind of thing. Then as for the high frequencies of the Tune 120 TWS, what I got from them was a little bit of a boost in the lower treble, so vocals, strings, even, the sort of like attack of certain drums and percussion and things like that sounded very articulate, had kind of this sense of specificity to them. Then I heard another boost at the bottom range of the upper octave, which kind of gave you this audible sense of airiness, breathiness, should I say, to vocals. That said, the upper treble of the IEMs definitely had a bit of a dip there, so cymbals kind of sounded a little bit thinner than they usually do, not as harmonically complex, but still had that kind of specificity in the information above the upper treble. So these earphones definitely had a sense of kind of lift to them because of that boost in the upper octave, but it's just a little bit thinner and not so realistic sounding in the high frequencies. As for the sound stage of these, I actually was very impressed, especially considering that they're Bluetooth, true wireless earphones for 99 bucks. Let me explain a little bit. So as for the sense of depth, the middle part of the mid-range, because of how kind of full it was, pretty even for the most part, really represented room mics and reverbs in a great way. You could hear what the room was doing when certain instruments were played. And that contrasted very, very well with then the very intimate vocal because of the boosted high mids. It really kind of brought that stuff forward, and so then the separation between those things set further back in space in the room and then the intimate vocal, for example, just was really, really well done. Then, as for the feeling of height, because of the little bit of emphasis in the lows and then that emphasis in the highs, I thought the vertical spaciousness there definitely had some specifics to it. Things really felt like they were placed in the highs to lows in a really well done way. It's not super accurate because of the way the frequency response sat, but there was nuance between the different kinds of instruments and where they sat in that space. Lastly, as for the sense of width, to be honest, I had a little bit of trouble with the width sometimes just because of the way the earphones actually fit in my ear. But when they were both sealed in really well, then the sense of width was well done and there's nuance there. It's not a super expansive by any means, but there is great separation between everything. You just got to make sure that the earphones are sitting properly in your ear so that you have a nice strong phantom center. Overall, the JBL Tune 120 TWS is a great option of noise canceling for 99 bucks. As for the sound signature, it was very vocal centric, but still had a nice little bit of bass boost down there. So the genres I particularly liked these for were folk music, singer-songwriter music, hip-hop, and then indie stuff. I thought it did all those genres very well. And then, of course, like I sort of mentioned before, I think it also did podcasts and audiobooks really well, too, because there's great articulation with these. So if you're on the go listening to that stuff, these are a really good option for you, too. The one thing to keep in mind, though, is that they're not going to be best for those with super small ears. I had a little bit of trouble fitting them in my ears, but that said, if you have kind of average ears and you don't have any issues fitting other types of earphones in, then I think these are going to be a great option for you. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to get a closer look at some of these images, if you want to read a little bit more in depth as to what's going on with these earphones, you can check out the link in the description box. I've left a link there to my written article of, the same earphones. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And for more videos like this, be sure to subscribe. All right, everybody, I will see you next time. Bye.